Hello everyone, and welcome to Phase 1 of MeToWe's Fundraising Workshops. Thank you all so much for joining us. We're about to get started, so I recommend maybe pausing the video and grabbing a pen and a piece of paper so you can take notes. Because we're going to be talking today about setting targets, overcoming fundraising phobia, and establishing your why. And these are all very important topics to your fundraising success. Thanks. If you have any questions along the way, here's my contact information. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time. I'm always happy to help any way that I can. Here's my contact information on the screen. Again, welcome to Phase 1 of our fundraising workshops. Let's quickly go over the agenda for this session. First, we're going to talk about what the MeToWe fundraising program is all about. Second, we'll introduce Phase 1, the needs assessment phase, which will be an important topic in this workshop. We'll then go through Step 1, which is setting your targets and goals, as well as knowing who your fundraising friends and allies are. We're going to walk you through Step 2, which is establishing your why. What is a why, and why is it important to your fundraising? Lastly, we're going to talk about knowing your trip inside and out, because no matter what type of fundraising you're going to do, people are going to ask you questions about what you're up to and what this is all for. It's very important that you can clearly communicate that. So today's fundraising workshop is actually the very first of 4 workshops. MeToWe is very passionate about making sure everyone has access to participate in our amazing travel and camp experiences. Developed a program to help support fundraisers who decide they want to travel with us. The program is broken down into 4 sections, and they have corresponding workbooks that you can use to follow along. If you've seen these workbooks, excellent. If not, please reach out to us and get yourself a copy. My contact information was shown at the beginning and will be shown again at the end on the screen at the end of this workshop. It's not at all necessary to have the workbook to attend this workshop, but sometimes it might be helpful. Today we're going to be talking about Phase 1, the needs assessment phase. So let's get started. Beginning of your fundraising roadmap is all about preparing for the journey that lies ahead. No matter what your goal is or how much support you have from friends and family, the truth is, fundraising does not happen overnight. Phase 1 focuses on 3 different steps. Each step is designed to help equip you with different skills and experience to help you get closer to your fundraising goals. Here they are. Step 1. Knowing how to break down your fundraising goal into manageable and achievable smaller goals. Step 2. Understanding and being able to speak to why you want to go on your MeToWe trip or experience. This is where coming up with your why is going to be helpful. And Step 3. Understanding and being able to explain Free the Children and MeToWe to family, friends, donors, and prospects. Okay, let's start on Step 1, which is setting your target and goal. In this step, we'll talk about how to prepare for your fundraising journey, what you can do if you start to feel overwhelmed. We're going to talk about breaking down those numbers into smaller goals and understanding the time available to meet those goals. We're also going to talk about knowing that you have allies in your corner to support you the entire way through this process. So if you open up your workbooks, if you have them, to page 5, you'll find a copy of a fundraising calculator. We built out this awesome fundraising calculator to help you determine exactly what your fundraising goal should be. This is really important, especially since a lot of people avoid this step because they're nervous to add up all the numbers. Unfortunately, the numbers don't lie, and you'll need to get a grand total before you start, so it's easier to figure out what type of events will be the best to help you reach your goal with the time you have to invest. If you have your fundraising calculator, pull it up now. Otherwise, don't worry, we're going to walk through it together now. The fundraising calculator is a fantastic resource to help you figure out your total fundraising goal. There are 3 main sections, and you only have to fill out the first 2. The first section is called the In the Bank section, and it represents how much money you already have to put towards your fundraising goal. A lot of people forget to think about all the different resources they have available to them to help them be successful in their fundraising efforts. So that section, the in the bank section, comes first. The second section is the costs to consider portion of the calculator. There are other costs associated with your MeToE trip that are important to keep in mind, such as travel backpack, clothing, spending money, vaccinations. If you're looking for some suggested costs for these items, or where you can find these costs, we can go over that now. So oftentimes for insurance, it depends, but $150 to $300 is a good budget to start with, depending on where you live. Travel backpacks? They usually range from about $100 to $150, again depending on where you're going. For vaccinations, we suggest you call your travel doctor and ask them. The vaccinations for our trips are optional and varied, and we can't give you a cost, but your travel doctor sure can. We also recommend that you review the packing list on your portal pages and do some internet window shopping. Your trip coordinators are an excellent resource, so please feel free to ask them any questions you may have about insurance or money that you might be spending on your visa. For spending money, we recommend bringing about $200 US. For a visa, again, your coordinator can help you out, but $50 to $100 is a good budget to start with, depending on where you live and where you're traveling to. We definitely recommend talking to a close friend, parent, guardian when finalizing your costs, since they may be able to help you think of things you might not have thought of, like snacks for the airplane. Great. So now you can add up all of your savings and subtract all of the costs to get your total fundraising goal. Voila! You've done the very first and most important step in fundraising, figuring out how much you have to fundraise for. If you have a copy of the online workbook, you can actually just plug these numbers into the fundraising calculator and it will do the math for you. Whatever your financial fundraising number goal actually is, the truth is, numbers don't have feelings. The feeling of being overwhelmed with any financial goal is definitely how you feel and view the number. So let's go ahead and turn these into feeling less numbers and see how you can break down these big numbers into smaller, manageable parts. We can do an example together first. Let's say you have to fundraise for your entire trip. Okay, cool. Let's say it's $5,000 total. Let's say you have about 5 months to fundraise for the total. It's important to remember that the timeline for your fundraising is not going to be the day you leave for your trip because the payments are due 120 and 90 days before you leave. So your timeline is actually the date of your final payment. This is unless you have a parent or guardian who's going to pay for your trip up front, and then you reimburse them later. In which case, you can continue to fundraise even after your trip. But let's get back to our example. So it's $5,000 for the trip. And what you need from the packing list, let's say it's a total of $300, $150 for a new backpack, and $150 for hiking boots, a couple shirts, and a hat. Let's say your parents are taking care of insurance and you live close to the airport. You already have the recommended vaccinations for where you're going, so these items aren't required. You're going to bring the recommended amount of $200 spending money. So when you add everything up, the total you have to fundraise is actually $5,500. For the in the bank section, let's say you have $300 saved up. Plus, your aunt is willing to donate $300 to your trip. You know it's your birthday in a few months and you'll be counting on $50 from your uncle as a gift. Plus, you babysit 4 times a month where you make $120 a month, that's $30 a week, and you'll do so for the next 5 months. Then, you subtract your deposit since it's already gone towards your trip. This means that the total funds that you can put towards your trip are $2,000. We can take our total trip cost and then subtract the in the bank section. In this case, the total amount of money you need to fundraise in the next 5 months would be $3,500. Working with this example of a $3,500 fundraising goal, we can take that, divide it by 5 months, that's $700 a month, and that's $175 a week. To break it down even further, that's only a total of $25 a day. Do you think you can make $25 a day between now and at the end of 5 months? Or rather, $175 a week? Or $700 a month? Mowing the lawn? Part-time job? Babysitting? Paper route? We think you can. We know you can. Does this example of breaking down the numbers help? After the webinar, go through the same steps of breaking down your fundraising numbers and put that towards your fundraising goal. Remember, no matter what your goal is, we believe you can get there. We've seen families fundraise $10,000 to send 2 people on a trip. And if they can do it, you can surely do it. Now that you know your fundraising goal, you have to figure out how much time you have and need to fundraise. Ask yourself, how much time are you realistically willing to commit and invest into your fundraising efforts? Take some time now to write down how much time you'll be able to dedicate to fundraising. What days of the week are you free? Are your weekends flexible? How many hours, days, months are you committed to reaching your goal? Keep in mind while you're making your notes. Will you attend, watch Me to We fundraising webinars? Will you read the fundraising lesson plan workbooks? Will you be working with your fundraising coach and mentors, investing in the Facebook group, connecting with fellow fundraising group members? Maybe once a month you're willing to spend an entire weekend organizing and running a fundraising event or activity towards your goal. Maybe every month you'll spend 5 hours spread out over each week to go towards your fundraising efforts. Maybe 3 times a week, twice on the weekends, and once on the weekdays, for 1 to 2 hours at a time, I'm willing to commit to working on your fundraising plan. Whatever you decide, make sure you're being realistic. Maybe you can put some time into a calendar so you're reminded on a daily basis. Now that you have a better understanding of the time required to fundraise, ask yourself, who can you ask to help you fundraise? Ask yourself, who are your allies? Who is in your support network? Who is in your corner to help you through this fundraising? Are they classmates, teammates, neighbors, family, teachers? Take some time now to write down who all your friends and allies are that you think that can help you with your fundraising. Things to keep in mind while you're making your notes. Who can help you with your fundraising efforts? Who can help you achieve your goals? Who are the people you go to when you need advice or motivation? Who has done fundraising before in your group of friends, family, or classmates? Can you ask their advice? Don't forget about everyone at Me to We and those involved in the Me to We fundraising program. We're always here and happy to help any way that we can. This brings us to step 2, which is developing your why. The truth is, people don't buy what you have, they buy why you're selling it. You may already know why you want to go on a Me to We trip. Maybe it's to make a difference, make some like-minded friends, discover a new place, learn about culture. But it's often difficult to fully articulate the reason why you want to go on your trip or experience, and why you're fundraising. It's important to make sure you are clear on why you want to travel, volunteer, study social issues, develop leadership skills, and build out an action plan to make the world a better place. People often donate money because they understand why an issue matters to you. Being able to communicate this effectively is very important in putting together an effective fundraiser. When you think about it this way, it doesn't matter how delicious, or not, your cupcakes are at your bake sale. People would be more likely to buy them if they support the why behind why you're selling them. Does this make sense? Before we go any further, I'd like to stop and make a suggestion for everyone listening today. After today's workshop, I suggest watching Simon Sinek, the author of Power of Why, present his thesis statement on a TED Talk lecture called How Great Leaders Inspire Action. You can find the TED Talk on YouTube if you search Simon Sinek's name or the title of his talk, Great Leaders Inspire Action. It's interesting. Every employee of Free the Children and Me to We has to watch this video before starting in their roles. We think it makes passionate leaders and effective change makers. While you're watching, take notes on the talk. It's only about 10 minutes long. Consider how you might think about your why, your how, and your what within a Me to We trip and fundraising context. After watching Simon's video, I would like for everyone to take a second and quickly brainstorm or list what inspired you to come on a Me to We trip or on a Me to We experience. Now practice saying it out loud, and it's okay if you're talking to yourself for now. Maybe find a family member or friend and practice explaining to them, because you're going to get these questions a lot while you're fundraising. The next question I would like for everyone to take a second and quickly brainstorm or list the reasons why their trip is important to them. Again, practice saying this out loud. Lastly, I would like for everyone to take a second and quickly brainstorm or list the ways you will benefit from this experience. One more time, practice saying it out loud. So maybe you want to be the change and you believe that your Me to We experience can be your platform to do so. Maybe you believe that no one knows what's possible until they're already doing it, and you want to take this opportunity to actually change the world yourself. Maybe you do all the things you think you cannot do, and this Me to We experience is a challenge, and you want to challenge yourself. Maybe you're looking to find something in your life worth fighting for, and you're very passionate about this experience, and that's what drives you. Maybe you're like Iqbal, and you've seen grave injustices in the world, and your Me to We experiences will help you travel and see these injustices so that you can fix them from the inside. Maybe you're like Malala, and your path is to break barriers, and you want to fight injustice, so you want to travel so that you can have a greater impact. Whatever your why is, it's very important that you take some time to think about this and share it with people who are willing to support you. Your homework then is to formulate your why. Type up your 2 or 3 why talking points for why you'd like to go on a Me to We volunteer trip or experience. Send your list to one trusted friend and one trusted family member and ask them, after reading these points, do you understand why it's important that I go on a Me to We trip or experience this summer? Ask them for their feedback. Trust me, it's so much easier to learn how to have these conversations with someone you're comfortable with rather than a donor. Next, we're going to talk about step 3. This is knowing your trip inside and out. Two of the most common challenges previous fundraisers faced when they started talking to donors and prospects about contributing to their fundraising were: 1. It's hard to fundraise for the trip because it's hard to explain what a Me to We trip is all about. 2. It's hard to fundraise for this trip because some people thought it was a vacation. Now that you're familiar with the reason why you're going on a Me to We volunteer trip or experience, because you've established your why, it's important to be able to speak to how the trip works and what you'll be doing overseas. Learning about your trip in detail and how it's different than a vacation. If a trip somewhere far from home, like to Arizona, South America, Asia, or Africa, is focused on learning about social issues, leadership skills training, action planning, and volunteer work, is it a vacation? Let's go over some of the key points that address what a Me to We trip or experience is all about. Making a difference while you travel. You'll be volunteering with communities on projects that end the cycle of poverty, like school building, water projects, agricultural projects, etc. Learning about social issues and solutions to those social issues to make a sustainable impact with a lasting impact. You'll be learning about international development, learning about poverty, gender inequality, and how to try and address these issues. Paying it forward in your community when you return, and continuing to make a difference when you get home, to do something with what you learn on your trip or experience so you can make the world a better place. We call this action planning. And just like you're building out your fundraising plan right now, we'll work on an action plan that you can use to change the world when you get home. Developing leadership skills. Leadership skills development that you can use, that you can practice on your trip, but then you can also use when you get home to be a leader in your community. This is very important. And lastly, learning by doing. The way we learn about social issues and solutions to these issues is with hands-on learning experiences, through meeting people, jumping into projects to get first-hand experience. Try it and learn how to make things better. That's our motto. Also, because you're going on a trip or experience like this, the other people that are going with you are also interested in the same things that you are. You're building a community of other young people who care about making the world a better place. And together, we make change. You are part of a larger community doing good in the world. And all of this sounds very different than your average vacation, doesn't it? Now think about it. What sticks out to you as the most important detail for you to share about your Me2We trips or experiences? Do you feel comfortable now talking about Me2We trips? If you're still having difficulty, it's completely okay. Just reach out to us here and we can help you with some speaking points. So some of the important things we've talked about today. When you feel overwhelmed, we've called out what causes the stress and we've come up with some strategies on how to handle it. Turning numbers into feeling less numbers and breaking down your fundraising goal is a really great place to start. We've worked on calculating your total trip cost. We've talked about the numbers and how we can break them down into manageable parts. We've identified how much time we will dedicate to achieving our fundraising plan, and we've discovered the importance of a great support system and identified who can help us with our fundraising efforts. We've also talked about the importance of knowing our trip inside and out and being able to effectively speak about why it's so important. Again, let's go back to the cupcake example. People aren't going to buy your cupcakes, no matter how good or not they are. They're going to buy the reason why you're selling them. So if you have a good why, it will only help your fundraising campaign. Some keys to success. So go through this checklist and make sure you've completed all of the activities from phase 1. Why not go back and reread the phase 1 workbook? Complete steps 1, 2, and 3 in the workbook activities section. Go through the fundraising calculator and plug in your numbers. How much time are you dedicating to fundraising? Figure this out and plug it into a calendar so that it could get you started. Reach out to your support system and let them know what you're up to and ask them if they're able to help you at the outset. Reflect on your why and begin to practice sharing it with others. Why not try practicing it in front of the mirror a few times before? Lastly, go ahead and complete the phase 1 survey at the end of your workbook. That'll help us with fundraising initiatives in the future. Thank you so much for joining us for phase 1 of our fundraising workshops. Please join us next time when we go over creating your fundraising plan through phase 2. Again, if you have any questions or if there's anything I can help with, please feel free to email me at amanda.zamperin@me2we.com. Also, add me to Facebook, where every Friday I'll add a new, fresh fundraising idea slam that might be helpful for your campaigns. Thanks again, everybody, and happy fundraising.